All right, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my fellow comic book collectors. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, We Love Comics. And the first thing I want to state is this is not going to be a comic book video. So if you're looking for a comic book video, I hope you check out many other YouTube channels or other videos of mine. This won't be it, but this will be a very inspirational kind of video. So especially if you're having some, let's just say, interesting times in your life, maybe after you hear this situation, because we're giving an update on my cat Luna, and a couple of people have been asking about her, so I want to do this. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be a 20,000 view video. It's probably going to get maybe 200-300, but I'm not doing this for the views. I'm doing this to help those that may find something positive out of a bad situation. So I thought I could have easily done this on my other channel, but I think I get more connection with people here. So even though this is a comic book channel, doesn't mean people don't care. And I've had, like I said, people asking about the update. So first I'm going to tell the kind of scenario of what happened, what she's been going through, and then something very positive out of this. And I want you to listen to this, especially if you're going through some rough times yourself, because I'm going through that myself. And that happens in life. So for those of you who are here, I always make sure I say hello. So Horror Breakdown, welcome. Luis Ramirez is here. Jose Serrano is here. Don Levick is here. Welcome. John Hinonosha, forgive me if I totally butchered that. Welcome. All right, so here's the scenario. And then, like I said, there's going to be something very inspirational out of this. So there's a reason why I'm doing this. What happened was a couple of days ago, we were... Well, we won't get into major details, but two of my cats don't like each other. Luna, she's a loving cat. She loves us, but she doesn't trust other cats because of the fact that, somebody abandoned that cat at some point. She probably spent months, if not years, out in the wild. So she became very feral, and, when you're a wild animal, you have to protect yourself against other animals. So we have two other stray cats, which you guys have seen before. So she loves us, but she doesn't get along with them, and they fight every now and then. Usually it's just, posturing. But what happened is my cat, I believe it was my cat Shy, tagged her pretty hard and sliced open her right shoulder and tore open two parts, which ended up having to get staples. Now, unfortunately, they originally did it with stitches, but they did such a bad job that one of the wounds, the stitches came out. So it's now an open wound, and they said once it's open, they can't restitch it. So we've been taking care of it, but it's basically it's about the size of a quarter of an open gash. You could see the muscles. I mean, that's how bad it was. And the problem was, when we took her to the hospital to get the other wound restapled, it ended up, the Saturday that just passed, I was going to be taking my wife out. I bought her and I 2 tickets to go see Adam Ferrara, who's a comedian. And I bought, prepaid for the dinner and the show and everything. But as we were about ready to start, getting ready to go, we noticed that she had some very bad breathing problems. She was wheezing, and she was getting a lot of fluid in her nose. So we had to take her to the emergency room, and we found out that putting her under for the treatments ended up causing fluid in her lungs, and she could have died, but we caught it in time. But they also found that she had an enlarged heart, so we had to take her to a specialist. So, I'm going to say right now, thank God for my wife, because this has been probably about $1,000 to $1,200 that it cost so far, which we're happy to do, and she paid about 85 to 90% of it, because with me losing my jobs and everything, things have been a little challenging. So, thank God for my wife helping this amazing animal out. I can't thank her enough for that. But what we found out with the specialist recently is we found out, and this is the part where I want to have inspiration out of this and the meaning of why I decided to do this. And I just want to say hi quick to Tina and Don and Michael. Welcome. We find out that she has heart disease. And it was originally mild, but they found out because they put her under and caused all that fluid in her lungs, it increased the heart disease from mild to moderate. But the problem is, if this situation would not have happened, and as bad as it is for her, and I feel sorry for her, because, I mean, as you can see here, she's just resting, but we have to put her in one of those things that wraps around her head so she can't, you know, lick the wound and cause the staples to come out, or, you know, her rupturing her tongue. You know, as bad as that is, and we have to clean it out so that we're always putting, you know, antibiotic spray and peroxide, so it's got a sting, but she takes it. But if it wasn't for the fact of this scenario, we would have never found out that she has heart disease. Now, they say cat heart disease is the same as human heart disease. So she's now going to have to be on medicine for the rest of her life, and it's basically slowing down the process of her heart disease killing her. But if this scenario with the injury of her arm didn't happen, then we would have never known she had heart disease. And probably by the time we would have found out, it would have probably been her dying or getting so severe there's not much they can do about it. So the inspirational part that I want to kind of tell people here, and again, this is not a comic video. This is a comic channel, but this is not a comic video. I did this because people did ask about my cat, and they care, and there are some people that really care, and those are the people I appreciate. That's why you're only seeing 14 people watching right now instead of 50 to 70 when I'm telling people what comics to buy. So this is more quality than quantity, because I know most people just don't care. But there is a reason for this, because I wanted to inspire people that sometimes good things can happen out of what seems to be tragedies. Now, I really wouldn't want her to have to go through what she's going through. But because of it, we found out that there is a problem that we caught in an earlier stage. That now that we have her on medicine, it could end up extending her life. So, but for the fact that tragedy initially happened, we would have probably never found out about it until it was too late. Which means she would have died a lot earlier than what will happen now. So, there are times in life where really bad things are going to happen. And we all tend to focus on that particular moment. I'm guilty of that myself. It's just part of nature. We're going to respond to what's going on. But sometimes, or I can say almost all the time, it just may not be right away, that something else can come out of it down the road, where then you could look back and say, oh, okay, that had to happen to bring me to where I am now. And I'll give you like another example that I've talked about before, about how a bunch of my most expensive comics were robbed years ago by basically my ex-fiance's father. And she actually even stole some of my credit cards, because that day I ended up, the day my house got robbed, I forgot my wallet, and I left it at home. So they cleaned out my wallet too, which had probably about $400 or $500 in cash, but it also had my credit cards. Now what she did, which I didn't find out until about 10 years later, she didn't steal the credit cards, but she wrote down the credit card numbers. And because she was living with me at the time, she had my address, so she had all of my information. And she would spend little bits at a time over 10 years, to the point where it came out to about $15,000 to $20,000 under my name. And because she knew my work schedule, she would wait for the mail, because she knew I wouldn't be home, because back then I was working full-time. She would take the credit card receipts so I never knew about it. Wow, and Tina, that's amazing. You didn't have to do that. Tina just did, and I want to publicly say this because that's amazing. Tina just did a $50 super chat. That's amazing. You didn't have to do, I mean, $2 I would have been thrilled. But that's amazing. She said to help with Luna's meds. That's amazing. And I don't want anybody to think I was doing this to get that kind of sympathy or anything. Because like I said, there's an inspirational part is why I'm sharing this. But Tina, thank you. The good thing is her medicine is around $16 a month. So that will definitely go a long way to helping. So thank you. I just lost my train of thought with that because that's amazing. Tina, that's... like, if anybody wants to do stuff like that, you don't have to do that high. I mean, if somebody puts $1.99, I would be thrilled. But Tina, that's above and beyond. So, if you have Tina, if you have a website or a business you want to promote, or you have a YouTube channel, post the link when this video uploads, and I want people to subscribe to your channel because I want to return the favor. So thank you for that. And she's right. She says our pets are our family, and that's true. I mean, it's funny. I've had my other cats since I was a kitten. Don just sent the $2.99 super chat. Don Levick, thank you. And also remember, if you do a super chat, and you don't have to, because like I said, I don't want this to be about that, but I definitely appreciate the love. When you send a super chat, you have the ability to write a message. So please, whatever you want, even if it promotes your business or anything, I want to help. And Don says, not much, but I hope it helps. Don, trust me, I grew up with not having much. And I always learned that something is always better than nothing. That's one of the reasons why when I collect comics, you see I have a lot of low-grade books. Because, I can't afford the high grades anymore. I used to have them. Those are the ones that got stolen from me. I mean, I literally had what would be either a 9.6 or a 9.8 Conan #1. That's worth about $15,000 to $20,000 now. I had probably a 9.4 Hulk 181 that I spent like $50 on. I can't afford those anymore. But to me, even a coverless book, I still love them because it still reminds me of my childhood. It still gives me the love of actually opening it up because the character's still in the book, even if it doesn't have a cover. So to me, it's like almost like my strays. I mean, I have 3 cats that are strays. And Amazing Murphinator says, is it the cat that's most in your vids? The orange cat that you see most of the time is Oregon. Shy is the one you see in the image before you, the dark one. She's hardly ever in videos. She was only in one video. But to me, I appreciate any kind gesture. And that's why I think for a while, I was very defensive, especially on my original We Love Comics channel, of all the people that would attack me and insult me and make up all these lies. It would really bother me because I am generally a very caring person. I mean, I'm a karaoke DJ, which means I'm entertaining people. I throw parties and, I'm doing music for everybody, but I've been a licensed massage therapist since 1995 when I got my license on Halloween of all times of 1995. My first massage ever was January 23rd, 1996. Client's name was, I'll just say the first name, Joe, because I don't want to give out somebody's personal information. Never saw the person again, but as they say, you never forget your first. But I've always been about caring and helping people. So Don, trust me, never apologize for a kind gesture. And that's one of the reasons why I want to make this video, because I know there are so many people out there that have such bad things happen in their lives. And I mean, I'm going through it. I literally lost 90% of my income from places that I was doing the right job, but because somebody else was doing the wrong thing, but they were friends with the people that they work with, they sided with them over me, and I lost my jobs. Not because I was doing anything wrong or doing it bad. It's because they chose the person that they're familiar with, even though they were doing wrong, over me, who was an outsider. But I know, like for example, yesterday, and I hope you watch it, I made an unboxing video of a very valuable comic that I bought about a month ago. I didn't unbox it because I know that if there's ever scenarios where something can happen, I want to be prepared. Because I know, especially when it comes to YouTube, if you are not making videos regularly, people forget about you. So I have literally about 15 to 20 boxes, if not more, of comics that I never opened. So this way, in case things like I'm going through right now happen, I would be prepared. And anytime I made extra money, before I bought myself a comic book, I would pay my bills in advance. So, like, for example, my electric bill and my cable bill, I've paid 2 to 3 months in advance. And, again, when somebody does this, I want to mention it. Horror Breakdown, he did a $5 super chat. Thank you. And he says, best of luck with Luna. Thank you. when they made that comment about animals are like family, when Tina said that, she's right, because all three of my cats are strays, which is funny because Shy, which is one you see every now and then, but he's one of the orange cats. On Mother's Day of 2010, I was in the doing laundry, and all of a sudden I heard a ruffling in a box, and I look inside this box, and there was this lone little kitten, so small its eyes weren't even opened. So there were a couple of other little dead kittens. So the mother must have abandoned him down there and left him behind, and he was the only one that was still alive. Was so small his eyes weren't even open yet. And then 2 years later, on Father's Day, which now I'm afraid of going out on holidays, 2012 is the year my father died. He died in a fire. He lived in in North Carolina after my parents got divorced for the past 15 years. Hardly ever talked to him, hardly ever saw him, maybe saw him 2 or 3 times in that time period. And he moved back here to New York after he got his second divorce because he wanted to try and rekindle things with me, because he basically abandoned me at 10 years old and wasn't ever really there. So I guess after a while, he started realizing what he did. You know, sometimes people experience that later on in life. He decided to move here to try and get back in touch with me, and he was staying with his best friend and his best friend's wife at their house, living in the basement while he was looking for a home. Well, one night, his best friend he's a smoker, fell asleep, and the house got set on fire. All 3 of them ended up dying. My father was in the basement, and the ironic part is if he would have stayed in the basement, he wouldn't have died. He didn't die from the fire. He literally opened the basement door, walked about 3 steps, and fell and collapsed from smoke inhalation. And I actually made a video. I was doing once a year, making a video telling people, make sure you check your smoke alarms, and I was accused of using my father's death to make money on YouTube, which really hurt. But the reason I bring that up is it ended up that I was given my father's car after he died. And on Father's Day, guys, you don't have to do this, but I appreciate it. I don't want you to think this is something that you have to do, but Michael Rodriguez, $5 super chat, thank you. Again, if you do a super chat, put a little saying on it, because you can. I want to make sure. And please, if you have a YouTube channel, I want to promote it. So please, even if you're not donating anything today, in the description, if you want to promote your channel, put the link in the description. Even if you don't do a super chat, it's not required or mandatory, because when people do kind things, I want to give back. So thank you, Michael. But the reason I brought up with the thing with my whole father is I got his car. It's in the driveway. It's not usable. But on Father's Day of that year, which was about 2 months after my father died, I'm hearing what I thought was a bird. And I go out front, and underneath his car is Oregon, a little stray kitten. And we find out that my father, in his adult life, only owned 1 cat. And we saw a picture of him laying next to the cat as a kitten, and it looked exactly like Oregon, to the point where I thought it was the same cat. So on Mother's Day 2010, we find Shy. Father's Day of 2012, under my father's car, about 2 months after he dies, is the same exact cat that my father basically looked like he owned when he was basically in his 20s. Luna was about 2 or 3 days after Valentine's Day, about 4 years ago, where I literally, this was during one of the big snowstorms in February that we had. I mean, it was like a foot of snow. Or was it right before it was either before or after. But I literally went to open the door to check the mail, and in she comes running, meowing. Now, this cat basically looked like 1 day away from dying, starving to death. Meowing, rubbing herself against me, and I felt horrible. Because I'm like, all right, my wife at the time, she likes cats, but she's more of a dog person. I was thinking, she wasn't home, and I'm like, we can't have a third cat. So I had to put it back outside, and it's snowing out, and I look out the window, and she's just laying by my door in the snow. And I felt so horrible. It's like I thought maybe she was just lost or something. So I put out a little bit of food, like some dry food. She didn't eat it. And she would walk away and go to the next door house and then keep coming back to mine. To eventually, I'm like, I can't let this cat lay out there like that. She's going to die. So I put her down in the basement and gave her some food. Then we find out, because I told my wife, and we just loved her to death. She's friendly as everything. It's like, we're going to keep her. We find out that the reason she wasn't eating is most of her teeth were rotten. Somebody just abandoned her. So we had to spend, I think, like $800-900 to get a lot of her teeth removed because they were so bad from being out in the wild for so long that she just couldn't even eat like solid food. So we had to feed her like canned, loose, wet food. So this cat's been through a lot, and I have such a connection with her. Like, even the vets say she's like the most friendliest cat they've ever met. Like, when we have to spray her open wound with the peroxide. I mean, if you've ever had a wound and you put peroxide on it, you know it bubbles, it stings. She doesn't even flinch. So, like I said, if it wasn't for my wife, this cat would probably not survive. So I thank my wife for the sacrifices that she's made to help the situation. But the reason that I wanted to make this is because people do care. Obviously, you could see that with the kindness of the people that were doing these super chats. And that's, like I said, I don't want people to think I made this to get sympathy and try and make people do this. I did this for two reasons. One, people kept asking about her condition, and I thought this was appropriate to let the very few people who cared know, but to also inspire people. Because, like I said, we found out she has heart disease. But as of now, it's mild to moderate, which means, you know, like any heart disease, it's not curable, and eventually it will lead to her demise. But with medication, that will delay that as long as possible. If we would not have taken her to this situation if that event never happened where she got clawed by my other cat, we would have never found out about it. Now, I don't know about heart disease enough to know how long that could take the life of an animal, but I'm sure without medication, it would have been a lot sooner. And because we have such love for these cats, I mean, she sleeps in the bed every night. She's like literally, like Tina said, part of the family. So I thought it was important. I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video because I get backlash no matter what I do. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to focus on the negative. I want to focus on the 10 to 15, 20 people who actually do care. Because those are the people I want to help inspire. And I want my situations with losing my jobs and having the cat having the situation that she's going through to say that sometimes we can get hit hard and life could really seem cruel and unfair. And my only outlet for the time being is making these videos. Because not having all the jobs gives me a lot more free time. And a lot of it I do spend with Luna because we have to make sure the other cats don't re-injure her. And we have to make sure she's okay. But I want people to know that good things can come out of bad situations. So if all of a sudden a whole bunch of things are hitting you and you think you can't handle it, I want you to stop and think, what can come out of this? I mean, just imagine if, let's say, God forbid, you're driving in your car and you get into a car accident and you lose your job and you break your leg and have to go to the hospital. And you lose your job because you can't work anymore. But what happens if in the hospital you end up meeting somebody that ends up being the love of your life? You spend the rest of your life with that person. And the only way you were able to meet was you having to go through that accident. And you have amazing children who end up doing amazing things. Let me ask you something. If you had that kind of crystal ball, would you change the fact of having that accident? Which means if you didn't have the accident, you wouldn't meet that person, and you wouldn't have those amazing kids that go on to do amazing things. Would you change it? I know a lot of people that wouldn't. They would go through that to end up finding out years later or months later that something will come out of it. And that's why you notice the people that are the most caring are the ones who end up experiencing the most pain. Now, there are plenty of people when they experience pain, instead of trying to learn from it and growing from it and doing the opposite, they tend to lash out at others. They become angry. They hold it in internally. And then they never grow. That's why you'll see the same angry people that are mad at me now for whatever I've supposedly done, like have my own opinion, were the same people 5 years ago hating me on my original channel. They don't change. And yet, I would like to think that I have grown over the years, learning from my mistakes, learning from my failures. And maybe the situation with Luna is a way for life to kind of say, you know, yes, that's a bad situation, but that situation allowed you to learn something that could save her life. So you have to look at it in a new perspective. Is it really that bad then if it ends up ultimately making her life a lot better and a lot longer? So I want to teach people that you're going to go through some bad times. It's just unfortunately part of life. Most people care about profit over integrity. And you're going to go through some hard times. But you never know what good can come out of a path that leads you in a different direction. So I want to read what Don wrote. It said, March 27th will be the 10-year anniversary of my princess wife passing away. And my kids and folks in the comic world were great at helping me get through the hard times. Just talking about our animals and our families can help not. I'm not sure what you wrote here, but others going through the same things. And I'm sorry to hear that happened. And I know many people could share that experience. You know, losing my father was, I mean, I have his ashes probably about 25 feet from where I'm sitting right now. He chose in his will that he wanted to be cremated. So, I mean, I have his remains in my house. So I know it's probably not the same, but everybody. My point is, everybody goes through different experiences, and I'm glad to know that your children and people in your family were there to support you, and that's very important. And that's why I want to preach unity, and I want to preach caring and listening to others, and how your words and deeds can affect others. But sometimes what you think might be bad could actually be pushing you to do something to make your life better. And a lot of times, maybe it's almost like I always thought about when I got my tattoos. I used to kid around to people, and they would always say, even the tattoo artists would say, it's almost like an initiation, that you have to earn a tattoo. That's why the tattoos are painful. That you have to go through that pain to earn the right to have one. And I think that's why sometimes I kind of feel that bad things are almost like an initiation, where sometimes you have to experience bad things, and if you can come through it still being positive and still being caring, that maybe good things are rewarded to you down the line. Now, obviously, that's not guaranteed, because if you do it for that reason, it's for the wrong reason. So Luna's doing well. She still has the open wound. We got to take her back to the vet soon to get a checkup. We have to do some other checkups to regulate how her heart is doing, because she does have the heart disease. Those of you that sent the super chats, that's amazing. Those of you that are just caring and sending the well wishes, it's just as fine. I don't want anybody to think, oh, you know, if you don't contribute financially, then you're a bad person or you don't care. Please, that's not what I think. And Marvel Joe, which is the first time I've ever seen you here, so welcome, says, hello, Chris. I have a cat, and he's going on 13 years old, and we are having problems with his teeth. He's eating soft food now, and I wish I could take him to the vet, but finances are light. Hope Luna gets better. Yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, like I said, we had to remove, I think, about 6 of her teeth, somewhere between 6 and 8. I don't remember because it was like 4 years ago, but it cost about $800 to $900. So I definitely know what you're going through. And it's taken a big chunk out of, I mean, especially my wife's bank account. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, it was all me. I'm not that proud that I couldn't contribute as much as I wanted. But like I said, thank God for my wife. She, like I said, about 85 to 90% of these medical bills she's paid on her own. And that is just amazing. And I always mess up his first name, but he always says to call him John. So John Alfonso did a $20 super chat, and he says, how is Luna? Got the chat late. She's okay right now. She has heart disease, but it's, as of now, the doctors say mild to moderate. So we have her. She has to be on medication. The good thing is they said it's so common with cats that they have the medication, a lot of it. So this medication is only going to cost about $16 roughly a month, but it's going to be for the rest of her life. The good thing is, like I said, the original problem was our cat's got into a fight and sliced open her arm. And because of that bad situation, we learned about the heart disease. So we didn't know it was there before. So out of a bad situation, a tragic situation, you can even call it an annoying one, because financially, you know, these vets, it costs $499 just to do the x-ray to find out if her heart was enlarged. So, you know, they do, I don't know if they take advantage, but it's not exactly cheap. And that's why a lot of people end up either, like, whoever had this cat before us probably just abandoned her and gave up because maybe they couldn't afford it. So they just let her out to die. And we kid around all the time saying she definitely found the right house, because we're not millionaires. We're not wealthy at all. And having 3 cats is a burden, but it's a burden that's worth it. And we love them to death like family. Don says, do you have any vets that offer pet insurance? They don't do that around here. That's one bad thing about New York. Unless you have lots of money to buy very expensive insurance, it's not going to help, unfortunately. But like I said, it's worth it. And that's why, like I said, I haven't been able to buy, I won't be buying an Amazing Fantasy 15 anytime too soon, unless I win the lottery or find one at a garage sale for $5. But because I always prepare for situations before they happen, I have several boxes that I have never opened so I can do an unboxing. Don says, that bites, no pun intended. That is actually kind of funny, because she did get bit as well as clawed. But I was going to show her on camera, but I don't want to show like graphic images, because the wound is pretty bad. I mean, you could see the muscles in her arm. And because they did such a bad job with the stitches, they popped open. And they said once they're popped open, you can't reseal it, because they said you basically be sealing in any potential germs, and it could cause eventually an amputation. And that we definitely don't want. So like every 3 or 4 hours, we're cleaning out the wound. And she's tough as nails. So this is a longer video than I thought it would be, and like I said, I knew this wasn't going to get, and I know it's not going to get a lot of views. To me, this is not about views. This is about helping people who care to hear something positive. And let's put it this way, this is how crazy life can be. If you are one of the people, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it after it's been processed days, weeks, or months later, and if all of a sudden something I said in this video helps you in a situation you're going through, just remember that you saw this on a comic book video, and how interesting life can be that can send you to places that you don't expect. And Michael says he has to leave. I'm going to read that in a second, but Jeremy sent us super chat, and you guys are absolutely amazing today. Jeremy, I think it's Kovac. Forgive me if I say it wrong. He sends a $10 super chat, says, hope this helps with your kitty. She's definitely not a kitty, but I know what you mean by it. And yes, it does help, because we're buying her special food and stuff. She eats better than I do. We'll put it that way. My wife, we get like the organic food for the cats. My wife is very good. My wife is a vegan. So, you know, she's very much into the health stuff. She has a couple of problems herself we're not going to get into here. But she's like really into the good stuff for the cats. So my cats eat better than I do. But I don't mind the sacrifice. And to me, this is what I love about how they care. But I want to read Michael's because he said something very important. Have to leave later. Comic book family, easy, Chris. Buried my grandmother yesterday and haven't been listening to anyone for a few days. This is the first live video I've ever caught because of work. And see, there you go. And my condolences, because I haven't mentioned it, but my grandmother passed away last week. So I feel your pain with that. I didn't even bring it up because, again, you know, it's a comic book channel. People want to care about comics. And, you know, I don't want to make this too much into this kind of stuff, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. But yeah, my grandmother passed away last week as well. And I want to send my condolences to you on that. And see, but this is what I see. So much positive can come out of this. There are not a lot of people watching this. But yet, look at the caring that you're seeing here. And like I said, if you're one of those people, like he just said, he hasn't watched any videos, and this is the first one he's seeing. And if this helps inspire him or help him a little bit through his hard time, just imagine the crazy feeling of, wow, I'm in a very bad situation. You know what? Let me go to a comic book channel and maybe find something to get my mind off of things, and ends up finding an answer that can help them just feel a little bit better. Life will always give you what you need if you're willing to listen into it and allow it to come your way. That's why you don't see me angry and depressed over these situations. I mean, yes, I got angry, and I think it is unfair that my cat Luna's going through all these bad things that she's had to go through. But if this ultimately prolongs her life because we found out something we didn't know existed, then how could I look at it as bad in the long run? Now, obviously, with animals, you can't console them, you can't talk to them. I'm sure she's not liking the fact of having this heavy thing wrapped around her head so she can't lick her wound, and she's going to have it for a couple of weeks. But it's something you do when you care for more than just what you yourself do. It's a great feeling to help others. And that's why, like, years ago, if they had these super chats, I mean, this is a relatively new thing, but if they had those super chats, I would be almost embarrassed or afraid to take them. And then somebody made a very good point to me one day, saying, because I was always one of those people, I loved helping people, but I felt bad if somebody tried to give me something. And somebody said, never deny somebody the kindness of caring and giving. Because when somebody cares enough to give something to help somebody, it makes them feel good as well. So never deny somebody the ability to make themselves happy by helping others. And if we had more of that in this world, what an incredible place this would be. There is so much division in the world right now. And I'm not just talking about comics. Just in general. And if we all would stop and listen to each other and care a little bit more and see that, yes, sometimes things are bad and sometimes the you-know-what hits the fan, but good things can come out of it if you just allow it to take you where you need to go and have faith in it. Now, when I mean having faith, I'm not talking religiously. Whether you're a religious person or not, that's your decision. But I'm talking about trust in the fact that there is some kind of purpose to this. This is not just chaos. So when you have something bad happen or a tragedy happen, understand that, one, that's part of life, and two, you never know what good can come out of it down the road. Most people fear that because it's the unknown. And most people, instead of having the joy of the anticipation, they have the fear instead. Not all surprises are bad. Anyone ever get excited about a birthday present? You don't know what it is, but you're excited about finding out. Look at the rest of your life that way. Use it as excitement. Like I even tell people with comic books, when people say, oh, you know, I always wanted that comic, but I can't have it. Well, a lot of times, it's fun for the hunt to try and find it, to see if you can wait a long time to end up finally getting the deal of a lifetime, instead of just spending all of your money buying things just because you can. There's an excitement in that. So use the enjoyment of, well, I don't have something. Instead of saying that, say, I don't have it yet. Like, I still have hopes that one day I will hold an Amazing Fantasy 15 in my arms. That's not going to be happening today. Probably not going to happen tomorrow. Because sometimes life throws a curveball. But you could still hit a home run when you get to see enough curveballs and you become a professional at it. So when life throws you those lemons, learn how to make lemonade. May not taste as good in the beginning, but eventually you'll get it. And Jose Serrano, I mean, this, you guys are amazing today. He did a $10 super chat. Again, if you are kind enough to do that, make sure you add a little message or something. Or like I said, if you have a YouTube channel, post the link. I will promote it. And like I said, you don't have to, like I said earlier, when this uploads, even if you did not do a super chat, which you don't have to, it's not mandatory, please post the links to your channels if you make YouTube videos. I want to promote people. So I wanted to give this update. I hope something I said in this video helps inspire people, because if you got something that helped you from a comic book channel, that should show that your life is being guided. And it's not as chaotic as so many want to believe it to be. And that's why I always tell people, be careful about the word belief. There's a reason why the word lie is straight in the middle of it. So, thank you to everybody. I first didn't want to do this, but now and it's not, has nothing to do with super chats, but knowing that I could have inspired somebody through a tragic experience means that it has a purpose and it's worth saying. So to everybody, I want to thank you, but I'm going to do, as always, a surprise subscriber shout out. You don't have to be a subscriber, but I'm going to be giving that today. Where is it? Give me a second. I want to find it. Okay. He left at this point, but maybe you'll see it later. Michael Rodriguez, I wanted to give you today's surprise subscriber shout out. He did have to, he had a loss in his family with his grandmother yesterday. So if any of you watching now, any of my power viewers that stayed until the end, that saw that surprise subscriber shout out, whether he's a subscriber or not is irrelevant, leave a little comment about sending your condolences to his family. So thank you very much. I know this wasn't a comic book video. I know this isn't going to get 5 million views. I don't care. This was about sending an inspirational message out of a situation. So Luna's going to be on medication for the rest of her life, but because of the fact that through a tragic situation we learned something that we didn't know about, it's going to extend her life. And to me, that's more important than what she's going through right now, because wounds heal. But once life ends, that's it. Unless, of course, you believe in reincarnation. But that's a video for another time. So thank you very much, everybody. I love you all. Thank you so much for putting up with the fact that I haven't done that many comic book videos lately. I appreciate those who care. Those that wish to send negativity, they're free to do so. That's on them. That's their life path. If they want to stay going in circles, don't be surprised you get nowhere. It's when you finally just say, okay, I'm on a stream. I don't want to fight the current anymore. I'm just going to go where that river flows, and it will take me everywhere I need to be. When you fight the current, all you do is get tired and drowned. And you end up ultimately going where you're supposed to go anyway. So thank you again for listening, allowing me a moment of venting, allowing me the pleasure of thanking my wife for her humongous part in this, and for all of your kindness and generosity. It will not go unrecognized. And that's why if anybody ever does those super chats, I make sure no matter what I'm saying, I stop and thank them right on the spot. Because if somebody's going to do something that kind, it is to be appreciated immediately. And make no mistake, you are not required to do that, and you are not thought of any less if you cannot. So all of you that are here, I thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if there's any more updates, if you guys and girls care to listen, let me know, and hopefully we'll have a good inspirational video some other time. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. And it's not you, it's not I, it's we love comics, and I love you. Peace out.